Guys, welcome back. So today we want to talk about Americanizing your firearms, or gun companies doing it for us. It's one thing if we do it, but it's an entirely different topic when the gun company has this great idea to bring in a military firearm, offer it to the civilian market, but then they completely change the way it looks and sometimes how it functions.
Yeah.
And this has always driven me nuts. So anyway, today we have Jason joining us, guys.
Hey, guys.
And we're going to talk about this because we were out on the range filming and this came up and I was just expressing my frustration. Like, man, this is just so tiresome because when I got the Hellion from Springfield, I was so excited. So were you, to get a VHS.
Yeah.
The VHS has a very distinctive look. Now it's gone through generational changes, but the current military version looks nothing like what Springfield's bringing to us. And I started looking online, like, well, can I get online and get pistol grips from overseas because we're using BCM gunfighter grips? Mm-hmm. Can I get the proper rail system for it, the handguard? That's immediately where my mind goes when I pick something like that up. I want to convert it back. What's that?
The integrated sight, like the
integrated sight,
FS2000, if you will.
Really want, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, they gave us a close facsimile of it. You know what I mean? Like, I would love to see if they're going to bring in a military firearm. Now, I get it. There is like certain restrictions or whatever, but most of this stuff gets brought in, and then the United States, you know, like structure, if you will, adds their components, and they put it on the market. Give me the bayonet lugs. Give me all the stuff to make it look just like the original. You know what I mean? But instead, they like change them. Well, it takes any AR-15 grip that you want. No,
I don't care.
I want the original grip, the look and feel, everything. You know what I mean? And so that's what they did with the Hellion, is they put the, you know, interchangeable AR-15 grips on there. I think the upper rail is different for like the iron sights and things like that. It was just a regular rail with clamp-on sights. So I mean, there's a lot of different pieces. And
I was excited. I still am. I still love the guns. I don't want to say that any of the guns we're going to talk about here I dislike.
No,
I enjoy and like them all. It's just, man, this goes back to years ago when Michael Kastner was still with IWI, and I had just gone out to Israel. We had toured the factory. We were the first American media ever allowed into that factory. It took us a long time to get in there, thanks to Michael's help and several other people. And we got in and we got to see a whole bunch of cool stuff. And they were showing me stuff that they were going to bring in later that we couldn't talk about in that video. And one of those things was the Ace. And I was really excited because even though the Israelis don't currently use the Ace in their own military, it's a weapon they design and manufacture for export. IWI has been doing that, and IMI has been doing that for decades, right? So they manufacture their firearms for their own use, but they also manufacture a whole bunch of different designs that they just sell to other governments and law enforcement and civilians. And so they showed me this thing. And what they showed me was an actual military gun. But then they said, but we want to show you how we want to bring it in. We want some feedback. And they showed me some drawings of the stocks, the pistol grip, all the stuff they wanted to put on it, change out the military hardware, and put all this Americanized stuff on with very Fab Defense-ish looking lines. And if you know anything about Fab Defense, they have a very distinctive look. Yeah. Which is another Israeli company. And so it had this very Fab-ish Israeli look to it that didn't look like the original design of the gun. And I just said, this isn't going to sell. Nobody will even know what this is, right? And Michael was of the same opinion, and we talked to the powers that be at IWI, and ultimately they brought in the original military version of it, which I'm very happy they did, because I got plenty of those different cartridge offerings in that particular rifle, and I love having the military versions. But then they moved to the Gen 2, and it looks different but similar to what they were trying to do with the original gun, but at the last minute they changed their mind, thankfully, and we got some of the military guns in.
Yeah, so you got the Gen 1, which to me looks the absolute best. You know, the integrated sights, the front sight post, the rear sight, the handguard, the rounded handguard. To me, that looks the absolute best for a Galil Ace. Absolutely perfect. And then they were introducing the Gen 2, and I was instantly turned off by that thing. They removed the sights. They've got this M-lock rail with slots all the way around it.
Our sales stopped when they went to the Gen 2. We can't move them.
Exactly. I mean, you look at the Gen 2, and most people are just like, and they feel it. It just doesn't feel as good on the handguard, you know. But again, it's still a great gun in the underneath, you know what I mean? But it doesn't have that genuine look of the original Galil Ace. And so I know when they've made those like 545s, Gen 1s, the 545 rifles, 545 pistols, gone. You know, anytime they do those special iteration Gen 1, they always do the special iteration Gen 1 guns. 556 13-inch rock and lock right now is kind of the the craze. Awesome. It's the perfect gun. It's awesome. We got that in Gen 2 sitting on the wall, and I'm like, no, I want the Gen 1. It's like, of course.
I try to tell companies this, right? So when you're bringing in a military firearm, you're appealing to a very specific market segment, right? The Gen 2 Galil is trying to compete against the AR-15, and it's just not going to compete. It's not competing for that same dollar. The people that are going to buy that gun are hardcore AK types and definitely military collectors. So when it doesn't look the way that they want it to look, and if they can't buy the parts to convert it back to the proper configuration, they lose interest in it.
Yep.
I have no interest in the Gen 2s. They're great shooting guns. I love the functionality of M-Lock, but that's not what I want on my military collectible.
Yep.
Right?
I want the true military configuration.
And this is what I tell companies. Offer those parts as an add-on so you get additional sales down the road if that's what people want to do to it. You can make those parts available. Just don't force people into having to buy it that particular way. Let them have a choice. Offer it as a military configuration, but offer your parts.
Yeah.
And most of these companies have U.S. manufacturing. So when you talk about HK with the MR556, A1, again, we wanted a 416.
Everybody still wants a 416. Let's put that out there. That gun is one of the most coveted items everybody wants. They want the real 416. And what did we get? The super civilian.
Yeah, the first generation guns are horrible. Now, the current crop is getting closer, but it's still not there.
Right.
And there's people, and people will say, well, it's HK or German government. It's, HK can't do this because of laws. But they have manufacturing in the United States. Now, perhaps the government's stopping them. I don't know the backstory there. But they have the capabilities to legally do it because they have the manufacturing here. They can, I think they even manufacture the MR762 and the MR556 right here in the United States now. I think they're all marked U.S. made. So they could do it. They absolutely could do it, but they don't.
Yep. They gave us this big, heavy profile barrel, these specialty pins for the lower to get a good fit on there. I'm like, oh, there was nothing wrong with the regular push pins. I don't know why you did this.
Right.
And they did all this additional stuff plus the H-key rail that was originally on there where you had to buy their specific, HK specific rail sections.
It looked like
there.
key mod, but it was HK mod.
Right. Like you said, the new one's closer, but still not there. And what I find interesting is you got Brownells that offers the BRN4 because Brownells has stepped up and is like U.S. making HK 416 parts to give people the 416 that they want. And they instantly
I have one of those guns.
You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, And those were like parts kits. They had found parts kits.
Right.
And then they
mine's one of the early parts kits guns.
They made the barrels and bolts or something like that to finish those out. And then they also made receivers, and so you could put it all together and have like a 416, if you will. Then they made the BRN4, which you can't find those now because they sold out instantly. Because again, everybody wants a real 416. And, as we're still on the line of HK, this kind of brings me back to the, the SL8 and the USC.
Yep.
So the G36, if you will, and the UMP.
And once again,
has like 6 supers in front of it, civilian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where they give us this narrowed 10-round magazine on the SL8, and the bolt was even like cut a certain way. So
the whole receiver's cut in, and then the mag well dips in for a single stack magazine. And I get it. Originally, because it wasn't the AWB in 1994, but because of all the import restrictions, I understand why the original SL8 and USC came in the way that it did, because you're making them in Germany. Yeah. But they can make them here now. And they don't have to do all that, but they reintroduced them recently. And the only thing they really changed was they dyed them black versus gray.
Yep.
So the only people who bought them, myself included, I only bought a USC. And I did a video on it. I think it was a piece of junk. It came broken right out of the box. The plastic was brittle. And I only got it because I wanted to send it off to Tommy Built to have it converted.
Yeah.
And by making it black, it's one less step in the conversion process of dyeing it. And that's what people buy the SL8s for.
Right.
Trying to find a pristine SL8's getting harder and harder because people are buying them and sending them off to get them chopped up into proper G36s.
Right.
Nobody wants the SL8. Nobody wants a 10-round magazine at thumbhole stock.
No.
And HK's implementation is the worst. I mean, there's nothing appealing about any of their conversions.
No.
And people just clamored for them in the early days because that was as close as you're going to get to a G36 until Tommy Built.
Yep.
But
again, people want the G36. They want the UMP. They want the 416, but instead they give us these, I don't even know what to call it. They're terrible. Now the MR556 and 762 have gotten better. I will give them that, so good job there, but Still a little bit more work to do to get it exactly the way people want. So I hope they do get that one. Another new one, or I guess you could say an old one, was the military trials. When we were going through that, you had the M17, you had the Glock
MHS program. Yep.
Who else was part of that? I think Beretta. The M9.
Well, they didn't submit it. Yeah, they offered the A3, but I don't think it was formally submitted.
So there's a few things, but again, SIG gave you the real M17, if you will.
They did
exactly the way it went. It was offered to you. Same one, I believe, with the Beretta. Well, Glock just omitted the safety,
right?
And came out.
Clearly, they already spun up to manufacture it.
Right.
They had everything they needed, but when they decided to sell it to the civilian world, they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to take the safety off. There's plenty of people out there that want the safety. I want the safety just because it's correct.
Exactly.
But I get this thing that's neutered that doesn't have all the parts on it, so it's kind of a facsimile, sort of looking like a trials gun. Like, gee, thanks, Glock.
And that's the same.
Was it really that hard, dude? I mean, seriously, was it really that hard?
Right. We want the true military configuration, if you will. If that's the way you were going to make it for the military, give us that pistol.
But see, Glock has something going on that a lot of other companies don't. That's nostalgia. So you have Gaston there that kind of rules that company with an iron fist, right? The reason the guns don't change and the reason they've stayed so similar, I think, all these generations is because Gaston doesn't want it to change. That's his baby, right? So if you put a Glock out there that has a manual safety on it, when it's not a standard product offering, like they've resisted it all this time for some reason, I think that kind of, Gaston's like, I don't want that out there. I'm guessing, pure assumption. But I do know from people that have worked at Glock and left that Gaston has his way. And I get that, founder syndrome, whatever you want to call it. And he did a great thing. I mean, the original Glock is an amazing pistol. It's met with global acceptance. But come on, Gaston, give us the dang gun we want. Is it really that hard? Is your ego so frail that you can't give us that stupid safety lever because that's what we as Americans want? He's probably salty because we didn't pick his gun. I don't know.
Maybe. And then there's another new one that's coming out.
I think I know which one you're going to bring up, and this one's heartbreaking.
It is. I remember when it was introduced at SHOT Show, and I was like, oh my God, they finally did it. And I looked at it, and I was like, no.
And I want to clarify, I still will get one. I still want one.
Yeah.
Desperately want one. But man, was my balloon pop. The air came right out of those sails when I saw it.
Yep. So that would be the IWI Carmel.
The Carmel.
I'm don't get me wrong. Like you say, I definitely will want one.
Yep.
because it's
Israeli.
It's
it's going to work. It's going to be bulletproof.
Yep.
But again, they're making it here in the United States. So they could offer it in its original configuration, but they think Americans want it Americanized. And by Americanized, guys, we're just talking about putting M-LOK rails on it, changing the stock from the original design to something goofy and more functional.
Being able to fit multiple stocks, multiple pistol grips,
Gotta have the AR
triggers,
yeah.
AR-15 safeties, AR-15 style M-LOK handguards, basically turning it into an AR-15.
Right.
We
and once again,
have this.
That isn't the market. I'm sure they think that they're targeting the AR-15. They make a great AR-15 too, by the way.
They do.
But
the Zion's incredible.
It's one of the best ARs on the market. But maybe they think they're targeting the AR-15 with this product, but they're not. You're not going to sway an AR-15 user to come over to the Carmel. Very few. People are going to go for the Carmel are going to be people like us that like new and different military designs. Right. We want to see how this new design works. We want to play with it, shoot it. How accurate is it? How reliable is it? What ammo does it like? Does it suppress well? These are things we want to know, but we want it in that original configuration. If we want to put stuff on it later, offer those parts.
Right.
But
offer
don't
those parts
force us into this Americanized stuff.
So we can take the originals off and put those parts on if you so desire. I mean, they went as far as changed the gas system. They changed the handguard. They changed the pistol grip. They changed all sorts of stuff on that gun. And it is not the original Carmel that you see on pictures in Israel. You know what I mean? It is now Americanized.
When I looked at it, I didn't even know what it was at first. Stuff. I'm like, oh, really? Dang. And I know the guys at IWI. I love them. Great people.
They make great guns.
But
the
man,
T7,
stop
incredible.
it with the Americanization stuff. But one last handgun I want to bring up, and this is one that's been on the market for a little while. The website's still up. I don't know if they're still importing them, but the South Korean K5 military pistol. Yeah. Great gun. They used to be sold on the U.S. market for $200, right? It's got that unique trigger on it where when you cock it, you can push the hammer forward with your thumb. It makes a kind of a quasi double action. It's a safe action, they call it. And that's a neat gun. I have one. Well, Lionheart, a U.S. company, set up to import the guns from South Korea, but they put rails on them, redesigned them, Cerakoted them, G10 grips, and they didn't even bring in a military version. You know,
Mhm.
you could even sell it for $500, mark it up $300. People still buy it. They still want the military version.
Yep.
But all they offer on their website is the highly customized one. I have one, nice shooting gun, great guns. Just not my cup of tea. I want the military version.
Right.
So, I mean, both. If I have a preference, right, I want both.
Mhm.
But I will always gravitate towards the military firearm first.
Right. And I think most people do, because if that's the gun that they want, that's what they're looking for. You know what I mean? Like they play Call of Duty, they play whatever it is. They're like, I want that particular gun. And they go to a gun shop. I'm looking for this gun. And they look at the one on the wall. They're like,
What is this?
well, that's not like this. No, that can't
That's
be right.
not a Finnick. What is this?
So, you know, I definitely want to see more true to their fashion military configuration firearms and not putting those accessories on there
Agreed.
from the factory. Give them as a secondary option to change to, if you'd like. You know what I mean? It comes this way. We are going to be offering these rails or this lower so that you can change your pistol grips and use AR-15 triggers and all that. So you can buy these parts separate if you so desire, but we're doing it in a traditional military
you can
configuration.
still make it compatible
Mhm.
with AR-15 pistol grips. I get it. The American market's goofy. Everything has to be sub-minute accurate. Everything has to use an AR-15 pistol grip. I mean, I get that. I've talked to these manufacturers. I know what people want, but make it optional.
I do know
Free
that
advice.
a lot of the times that, you know, some people say this, that when companies are bringing stuff like this in, they have to meet a certain parts count, if you will, of U.S. parts. I believe it's 922R or something like that. That's cool. Could you maybe make the parts look like the traditional military parts in
That's
your
all you
U.S.
have to do.
factory?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Look
that's
at the
what
scar.
I'm going for.
Look at the scar. Before it was made in the United States and sold, it was made in Belgium.
Mhm.
When they brought the guns over, they didn't have stocks and pistol grips on them. I can't go into details. I don't think it's a secret anymore, but it was at the time. I made promises not to expose secrets, but I will just say that various manufacturers over the years have done this. They manufacture the gun overseas. They bring it in either with really bad plywood stocks on them that are thumb hole or just no stocks at all, however the ATF approves it. And they get it over here, then they make the parts here. So the scars, all their polymer parts were made here.
Mhm.
All the compliance parts are made here. They have to be by law. And they still made the scar true to its military
just
configuration.
like the scar to the military configuration.
So but then you get IWI, who used FN Secret when they brought in the first Tavors. They did the same thing. They did these goofy import tricks, let's say, but then they made the stocks here. And so the original Tavor looks just like the original Tavor, like the U.S. gun
The SAR,
to the original SAR that was in Israel. Right.
Perfect one for one.
Right.
Yep.
And that really flipped my switch. I'm a huge Tavor fan. And then the X95 comes in. Now, the X95's had some generational changes too. But at the time, the X95 that we all knew had the big round handguard that you could put a suppressor into.
Little shorty, round handguard.
Round handguard, yeah.
Yeah, a little stumpy
We
thing.
got the really low profile handguards with the removable panels.
Yep.
Still look good. I still like the look of it. But I always wanted to get the X95 I saw at the
Rounded
checkpoints in
handguards.
Israel that had the little round handguards.
Yep.
Black with the round handguards.
Yep.
And I have a black SBR. It just doesn't have that round handguard.
Yep.
That's as close as I'll get to the original military IDF rifle. And that's what we want. That's what collectors want.
Yep, I know. And that's exactly it. I know there's a lot of things coming out, and I know a lot of companies do that. They're like, oh, let's go ahead and put all this cool stuff on there. And it's like, no, stop.
Right.
Stop the urge. Provide that later, you know, as parts that you can interchange, you know, but don't start from that point.
No.
So,
because a lot of people just look at it like us, like, what's this? And then you immediately get online and see if you can find the parts to make it right.
Yep.
And most of the time you can't. I'm really sad I can't get the VHS into shape because it's such a cool gun. I just don't like the way it looks. I don't like anything about it in terms of the way it looks. I really want that carrying handle with the integrated optic. That is so cool looking.
I know.
I don't even know where to get one, like with the Czech guns, with the Brens and stuff like that. They made the mistake of bringing in the Bren 2s that were of the military configuration, but CZ USA ordered the Americanized version.
Yep. Oh,
and the
that's
Czechs
another
screwed
one.
up and sent them limited edition military versions.
Yep, that was another one.
And I clamored to get as many of those as I could because I knew that once that it was one and done import because CZ USA threw a hissy fit. They didn't want them.
Yep.
I'm like, what do you mean you don't want them? This is what everybody wants.
Yeah, the Bren 2, the original Bren 2 had little short handguard with little quad rails around it. As a matter of fact, there was somebody on the internet making those quad rails that would go onto the original handguard. And even the older ones had the bayonet lug on the 14.5-inch barrel, you know, pistol. So, and then they offered the SBR kits so you could have true to its military configuration at Bren 2. But what they do?
Americanized it.
Get it so it's got this removable handguard and all this stuff on it, and that's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
They Americanized it. And now you can't even get the first initial run of those things.
No, people like me snatched them up, and you'll get it when I die.
Right. And so now you can't even get the original configuration. Now you have to buy the modern configuration. I want to say it was the Bren 2S, and then it became the MS. And so, yeah, that's
I
another
really know
gun.
because the ATF apparently doesn't know the S exists.
Yeah, that
Even
was
though it's on their
actually
stupid website.
that was hilarious when you submitted the form and they denied that
They kicked
one
it back.
because it's like, do you even know your own firearms that you approve? Because it's on your drop down, and this is a gun that exists. There is the
They argued
S
with me.
and the MS. You telling me to change it to MS is incorrect.
I know. And if I want to get it informed, I have to falsify a federal document.
Right.
Because they don't know what they're doing over there.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. But anyway, so I guess the moral of that story is, guys, if you're looking to import something, you're looking to make something, and it's a military firearm, it's best, it's just free advice, it's probably best to start off with the original configuration and just offer the update parts down the road.
Exactly.
So let us know what you think in the comments down below, folks. If you agree with this assessment of military collectibles, let me know down below. If you don't agree, let me know down below. Many times your comments give us ideas for future videos. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms Channel, the best way to do that is to become part of our Patreon family. There is a link in the video description below. Also, right here on YouTube, you got the little join and thanks button underneath the video player you're watching right now. Mash either one of those buttons, and you can support us here on YouTube in the age of demonetization. Last but not least, swing by, check out Copper Custom. Thank you for 15 years of support. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be definitely interested in seeing who likes the modern configuration. So
Ouch
definitely
yourself.
comment down below. Yeah.
Let us know who you are. All right, we'll talk
Take
to you
care,
guys soon.
guys.